Good afternoon, everyone. A very happy Independence Day to all the citizens of India. My name is Architect Guneet Singh Khurana. On behalf of Team Archistudent, I welcome you all for today's session. I would like to thank ASH Chandigarh chapter for extending their support for the event. I would also like to thank all the participants who have joined us for live session. So, are you ready to move up to the next level in your career ladder? Would you like some guidance on how to achieve this? Right. This is the second episode of the training series on project and operation management, which is specifically designed to provide you with the practical insights, strategies, and information on the topic. To provide us more insights about the topic operations in project management, we have with us Mr. Baba Malik, who is Masters in Project Operations Management with an experience of 10 years in project operations and technical management in Middle East. He is certified PMP, IOSH, OSHA, and also pursuing MBA from Glyndwr University, UK. I request all the participants to kindly write down their questions in the chat box. We'll be taking up the Q&A in the end of the session. Also, I would like to ask you to kindly subscribe to our channel for the latest updates on the upcoming events. You can also join us on our Google group. Please find the link in the description box. In case you missed our first episode of the series, Projects and Operations Management, kindly check the link in the description box. Now, without any further delay, I would like to invite Mr. Malik to take over the session and enlighten us with his valuable information.
Thank you, Guneet. Gratitude for the introduction once again, and I hope this goes well like the previous one. First of all, I would like to address the whole of India. Happy Independence Day to all, and being proud Indians all over the world. We have a pride, unity, and let's hope it goes on for years. So, as now already briefed by Guneet, what we did last in the last webinar, it was from this series itself, project management as a career. And that I talked about how you excel in project management, how you think this career is for you. With this, I took into regard with all my experiences, how I started, okay, how I inculcated all my thoughts, all my efforts, all my experiences all together to make a career out of this. And I, derived the methods you can use to understand this is the career for you. So many of you must be new over here, and the old ones, welcome back. And the new ones, I welcome you guys as well. If you wish to know more details about the first webinar, you can always, go on the YouTube link of Archistudent, subscribe to them, and you can profoundly check out what was going on in the first webinar. And I hope if you still have any questions from that, you can always write it down. So let's move on to today's webinar. Today is project management operations. That is the core chunk of my webinar today. I'll be talking about how you handle operations proficiently and how you being, into operations management in a project. If you get a project, how the operations happen. It's not just the planning. Operations is the implementation. So how you implement your ideas, how you implement your chart or the CAN chart or the project baseline or how the WS we have created, the activities you have derived, how you go forward with it very efficiently, how you strategize it. I will not give you, I will not share big presentations here, so it goes top of your head. People are new in this career or those who want to make a career out of this. I'll be very practical. From the ground level, let's start how you report, how you prepare a report. I will show you some templates, okay, Excel, MS Project, Primavera, the major basic tools for planning and scheduling and reporting, and how to derive the cost, how to make a cost management sheet, how to derive operations budget. These things I will show, I've prepared this before, I have experience in this, and I will show you from my templates. Okay, some templates I've derived myself, and those have been successful on bigger projects like the Riyadh Metro, like the Shamia project, and the Qatar Metro Rail. So these things will help you to understand how practically you can start how practically when you're involved on an operations, how you can, report, how you can make yourself understand, make the management, higher management understand what's going on, how you report it to your client. So these things are pretty important. These are on the practical level, how you go through when you are on a project, when you're handling operations. Okay, this I will tell you how the practicality goes on. Okay, so that you can use it. If I give you presentations and with things without any reports and anything, it will be difficult for you to understand. It will look bookish. I don't want that. I want you to understand the practical thing of it. And I hope you guys benefit from it. You can give your comments, okay, what you think about it, and we can grow together, as I always say. So let's start with the basic thing, daily operations. Daily operation, you can understand daily operations in construction, in a production project, in a business operations, in plant routine operations, in design projects, if you're architect rather. So how you plan this efficiently? So you have a project, suppose for 1 year, you have a time frame. I'm giving you a small example. Generally, bigger projects have large time frame, but I'm giving you a small example. Suppose you have 1 year or you have a 6 months project, like in software companies, to develop a software, you have smaller number of days, like 6 months, 8 months, it depends. So you get a timeline, 1 year, you plan your stuff, you being a project manager or you being a project engineer or a planning engineer, you plan, okay, this is the time frame. I have to achieve A, B, C, D. Let's start with this. You first plan, and then you think I have to achieve A, B, C, D. These are the four. I'm giving you an example, simple one. So you derive this, and then you start how much time this A task will have. Let's think A as the WBS, work breakdown structure. A task will have a number of activities, okay? A number of activities which will depend on the manpower you have, on the budget you have, on the material procurement you have, on the logistics, on the design and drawings, plus on the implementation. If it's a project in construction, it will depend on testing and commissioning after doing it in MEP, to be very precise. So you have to plan all this. And the number of days each activity will take. You have to be very, understanding on this point that you being a planning or you being a project person, you need to derive, you need to understand on the ground level. That is why I emphasize so much, last time in my webinar, that on-site experience is very important. You cannot become a project manager, a person who is a leader, or in a year or two. You need to start from the ground level. That is the site level. I'm not talking about particular labor work. Hands-on experience is important. Hands-on, checking the site, how it goes. So you will understand very clearly, my WBS, the number of activities. Suppose I have activity, if a construction site, I have activity excavation, I have activities asphalt, everything comes under. So how much time does it take on a practical level? You can check a lot of previous references, you can read books, you can read the projects you have, but when you have it on a practical level on any kind of project, okay, then you will understand how it's not about just, okay, you just understand, okay, this take 5 days. You have to think about what problems can occur whilst doing the project, whilst doing the activity, what problems you need to be prepared. You should have a plan B. Always have a plan B in projects, for not only for the whole baseline of the project, on all the activities, even the smaller ones, like a 1-day activity or 2-day activity. For example, for me, there was a problem in one of the Shamia projects. We had a delay in procurement, okay, and we had a shutdown date from the ministry. This is your shutdown period. You need to complete on that. We got the approvals. Getting the approvals is pretty hard. So we had to be ready with a plan B. I discussed with the management and we prepared a plan B. So how we need to understand this, the materials were not able to come. So we needed to understand how beforehand, if there is a delay, how we will deal with this. Because with experience, you will understand that procurement does matter a lot. Materials, whatever you're ordering, or okay, from suppliers, and majorly suppliers are outside the country your origin is. So you need to have a plan B. You have a local supplier, you have talked to them already, you have readied them for the emergencies, or you have a stock before. If you have a good stock beforehand, that's a very good thing. So these things, you need to understand that these things can add up to your timeline. Suppose if your task, A is of 30 days, all the activities, 5 days, 6 days, accumulating to 30 days. And you should have in mind that you prepare it 5 days extra, always. So it becomes 35 days. So you show it like that. You have it on your safe side because there will be delays, believe me. You initiate a project with how much perfection, how many, whatsoever planning you do, but there will be delay. Okay. So, and this is normal, but if it is a big delay, then it becomes a heartache. So you need to understand that when you plan something on a project, you plan with the mind, with the delays in mind, with the number of activities in mind, and then you have to understand the problems, and then you understand how to solve those problems. Because you being in the project, people will look at you, the management, the people who are following you as you can be a foreman, a supervisor, a project engineer, a planning engineer, a project manager. So these things does matter. Now, how do you plan? Like now we shift to production. Now you have a daily production. You have, suppose you have a baseline of that this is my product. We need this kind of quality efficiency. We need this much mass production in a day. Or then you have proper plans. Like suppose if you're growing, for example, if you're growing any organic thing, okay, in a factory, you're working in a factory, in FMCG factory. So what do? You have a plan. You being in operations, you have a plan from management. Has been going on. We want to make it more efficient. Okay. So how do you will put your ideas? You need to first strategize how the work is going. Okay. How you have the machinery and everything with production. You have a factory basically. I'm just giving you an overview, not the details of it. So you understand how you plan it. So you have a team with you, you have a number with you, and then you try to make it more efficient and the quality should remain the same. See, highing up the production is according to the need of the client. If the client needs something, in a certain period of time, you have an agreement with the client that I want this much production, I want this much delivered days, and you have also a relation with the client, they may increase it according to their need more than that. So you should be ready for that. So it should be strategized what is the requirement you have on hand from all the clients. So you should try to differentiate everything, put everything in one, put everything on one, one idea. So this is my total plan for a month, for a day, for a week, for a year. You should have a look ahead plan. This basic look ahead. We have a lot of look aheads like 4-week, 5-week look aheads. We'll come to that later. So how you start with this? You think, okay, I have to make it efficient. I have to cover first a major production requirement and I will move on. I will have if there is some emergency from the client, I will provide the necessities if it is higher number. So do I have a backup team for that? Like you plan your overtime hours for your manpower, you take care of the machinery, okay, everything is fine. Being in operations deals with everything because operations is a heavy job. Okay, in a project. So now you plan your operations, you plan your production. Okay, this will go on. I will try to raise the bar with this much. Then how you think? You have to take care of your manpower, your machine performance, the material, with the raw material, any kind of production project. Raw material is pretty important. If you don't have it, you have nothing to produce. So this is very important. How you're getting the raw materials, are those on time? So you have to plan on this from the base level. Now, next, move on to the daily operations of, in a business operations, you're trying to grow a business, how you're growing a team, you're in operations, you are reaching out to clients, you're giving out your operations budget, you're showing your efficiency. So these deals, you're strategizing, you are giving your UPS, the plans which you have in hand, you are trying to, spread your network through client. These all also come under operations. There are a lot of operations, finance operations, everything which tries to grow a project, which try to meet the requirements of a project on a daily basis is operations. Okay. So now the same thing goes with business operations. Same goes with design and architecture and everything. You have a design plan. You have to reach the requirement from client. I need a design for a particular, like a building project, for a particular housing villa project. Like I remember I did a project in Oman, a 22 housing project, Bala. It was one of my first projects in my first year. And it was quite amazing. I learned a lot from that, how to start from the ground level thinking, how the design work going on, how the shop drawings gets approved. So when you have a project like this, you need to understand that it will start from the drawing level. So if you have they will have a design team. Suppose you are working in a designing team. Suppose you are the architect, and they have given you that we need this kind of a structure, how you can plan, how you can give us, this is our requirement, how you can make it more pretty or more promising to the eyes of our client. So now you will think, what are the requirements? You will take everything first. You will check your tools, what you have in hand, and you will check that you will try to emphasize your knowledge. You will try to, give in, and then you will try to design accordingly. Okay, according to the requirement of the client. You can give in your ideas for sure, but what I will always tell you, in practicality, the client is always ready in his head that if someone does what I want, that is the main person. If you can give extra, that's a plus. But first try to cover what the client wants. If a client wants some structure, particular structure is given, you design accordingly. Then prepare, if you feel you can give more, then prepare another one, okay, another dummy copy to show both when you do pitching, okay, when you are done. So this will, make the client think, okay, you did his part, then you get extra efforts to make it more efficient, make it more promising. This will not hit the, so this is a world, is competitiveness. It should not hit the client that are trying to overpower his ideas or something. To be very honest, to be very practical how it goes. So you have his structure ready, you have his design ready as per his requirements, as per his project, as per his desire. Then you have your own, some improvisations which you feel can make it more promising. Okay. Then you present it, and then it depends on the client. And I will give you, with my experience, it's a go-go, it's a plus thing. Okay. You will always benefit in ideas, and you will always benefit in relations with the clients with this. Okay. Now we move on to manpower and site management. So, if you are in operations, you will obviously deal with manpower is pretty much required. I know a lot of machines are taking over, but still human mind remains the same, human labor remains the same. So because we are the ones who design those, we are the ones who make the machines understand how to operate. Okay, even if I have some friends in finance, they, you need a finance advisor, there are robo advisors right now in the fintech technology, but still people go try to, when you talk to an insurance agent in practical, when you talk to a financial advisor in practical, you believe it more rather than robo advisor. It's a good technique, it's a good technology, but still. Okay, so staff and site management, how do you do it? You have a project, you have a number of staff. I'm telling you, this is a very competitive world, and the management always tries, and rightly so, because they have to take care of the budget, rightly so, to understand they will give you not the desired manpower you need. Okay, you have to show that you can do it in this manpower, this much manpower, and you can do this in this less number of man hours, so that you benefit the company, you benefit the organization you are working on. So always try to keep this in your mind when dealing with operations. The management is like that. Okay, and it is right. So everyone wants to profit, and if the company grows, you grow. Okay, if it is impossible with, like, suppose if there's a project of excavation and you have just one person doing it, it's stupid. But yeah, you can raise that. But if something which is reasonable, something which can be done, which has been done before, the management will rely on that, and the management will want you to work more efficiently on that. Suppose if you have a design team, you have to reach some designing projects to be completed within 6 months. And, on paper, it is 4 people. You have 4 design engineers and a design manager. And you will think, can they do it within 6 months? Do I need more manpower? It depends on the project length. It's very important. If you understand the project length, what is my project, you can raise it to the management. So the first thing is to understand, okay, the project length, A, B, C, D, the whole length, as I talked already, the timeline. You need to understand the contents of it. Then only you can derive the operation. Then only you can derive what you need to complete it, because it's your reputation online as well, your career online as well. So let's move on to that. This is how you do manpower management. You understand what the management want from a higher management, your boss, and then you understand, this is my management, how I derive. See, every person, like the 5 fingers, they're all different. It's a simple saying. So you will have different kind of a team. You being the leader, you being the person in charge of operation, you should know what each person is good at, and you should provide them with the same kind of approach they need. Every person, individual is different. So if you have a smaller team or a bigger team, you think on that level itself, from the ground level, how you need to approach your team, how your team need to respond to you. Okay, if you try to become a leader who helps them hands-on, believe me, with my practical experience, if you're leading a team of operations and you want to help your team, you just cannot give orders. Okay, you need to go on the ground level, hands-on, do it with them, make them understand, because they will feel passionate about it. Even if so, they will feel connected. So this is a very important thing, when you are dealing with projects and you're dealing with manpower. Now, if we move on to the next level, how do you do a site management? Site management is everything. You have a site running on a project. So as a project manager, you will think, okay, I have my shop drawings ready, I have my design ready. Now let's move on. Or how is my site going to operate it, implement it? You have your manpower derived. Okay, I would like to share with you one screen so that it's better for you to understand more. 1 minute. I hope you guys can see this. This is one of my projects, so I will make you understand how you site management and all. So this I have derived in Excel. So this is your week 2 current plan, week 3. These are the activities. If you don't know, if you are not aware about Primavera is a must tool for planning engineers, but you can derive it in derive your plan and operations in MS Excel and MS Project. Okay, so you see this is my first thing. For example, this is a particular task, and this general electrical work has to be done, and this is the name of the rooms and what installation of conduits. If you can see, I hope everyone can see my share screen. Yeah, it is okay. So if you see, I have given dates, simplified it. I have given dates here. Okay, start, finish, duration. You see how does it start? If there are laps, then I will try to explain how much the work is done, completed. So these were the old projects, so it's written 100%. So you need to understand start, finish, the amount of work you need to derive. Only then you can derive the percentage, you can put in the formula. So this is a simple way to monitor your progress. Okay, don't go with difficult techniques when you're trying to start this in a career. Okay, so this is a simple way: start, finish. Okay, what's the requirement, daily, attend, whatever the project. If it's daily, write today's date and end also today's date. So it can go on like that, and there is a formula here that will automatically show what is the number of days. You can put a formula as you want. I have made it like this, and this is a Gantt chart. It can derive it. It is just to show like a timeline. It starts from here, it finishes here, it will go on. And then you will have to know the 100% of a work, the 50%. So you need to understand. And then the work is completed, you try to update it so that you are monitoring it yourself and you can report it to the management. This is pretty important. Okay. And you feel I can remember, I can understand, I have a project even smaller, try to document it, try to make a plan, try to report, try to monitor it through applications. That is a must. You see these. Now I will show you another thing. You see, for the daily production summary. You see, I have this prepared in my project from 16. This is a very handy one. So these are all the 5. This is one of the biggest projects I did. So Shamia, Piazza, tunnels, COC, Ring Road is a big project. So how much conduit had to be laid on that particularly? This is an MEP construction project, or even if you're working. And now you have to maintain your manpower and you have to maintain the efficiency of your manpower. You have to do your site management. So how do you do it? See, as I mentioned, CCTV productivity. CCTV productivity means the amount of work done by our team. Okay, we have a number of people. Okay, how you derive productivity? You have a number of people, 10, okay, one person can, if one technician can do this amount of work in one day, okay, this much. So that amount of work can be derived as in, like, suppose here it's conduits. Here you can see conduits. So example conduits. So see how I have made the formula details. So it depends on J60. It coming from there. J60 is this one. So you need to understand I hope you guys really know about Excel, but still If you have any questions on it, if you want the template or you need to understand it, you can always ask me on YouTube, or you reach out. I will try to help you. It's not an issue. To give you an overview, here you have the conduit, you have trunks, escort. So how do you derive it? You have to have these many conduits. One day a particular person can do it. For this, again, you need ground level experience, right? So you should understand this. You already know this much can be done. You have to be reasonable. So this much one person can do, and this much if in place in here we have conduits, so it will be the length of the conduits, and okay, the meters, how much can be installed in particular day from a team and from a person particular. Then you derive the productivity. Suppose it's 10 meters done, and one person can then do 1 meter in one day, and you have a team of 10 and it is done 10 meters, that means 100% productivity. So this is how you derive it. Okay, be sure that there is never 100% productivity. Don't push your team on that. So it's above 60%, it's always fine on a daily basis. Okay, but on a monthly basis, you see overall it should be more than 70% any kind of project. Okay, but practically what goes. So you derive the particular places also, particular project sites. These are the 6 sites, how much percentage is going on as productivity, okay, according daily. Then you have the overall productivity of the whole project. You understand my point? So these are the legends. So these how you make, and this is what you need to understand yourself, how you're going. 14% is quite less. You may have a reason on that particular day, and then you cannot present this to your management. So you need to be ready with the report that why it is just 14%. Okay, what happened that particular day? Was there a problem with materials? Was there a problem with manpower being absent? Was there a problem with wasted man hours? Or the problem with permits? Again, when I said what I said in the beginning, this will come in regard when you have a plan B, right? If you have a plan B, you can overcome this 14% already. That you don't have to present this to your management. If it is manpower you have, so in a particular project, if you're working, if your main manpower, the direct supply, that the one with the company are not available, you can always take the indirect manpower, one who work on a daily basis, an hourly basis. These people are everywhere. So this is how you plan it. Okay. And see, this is the graphical representation, how it goes on a yearly productivity. These tools and these templates will help you understand and monitor it very well. Unless and until you monitor your operations, you will not understand where you are, and you will never be able to, complete a project in a given timeline and efficiently. That's pretty important. Efficiency and to be done in a given timeline will show that you can handle projects, you can handle operations. So always be ready with this. Any kind of project you are doing, any kind of it may be IT, construction, MEP, that's construction also, EPC, in business growth and business development. If you are a business development manager, then you have maintenance project, design projects, architecture projects. Everything requires a monitoring, okay? Because this is what client sees, okay? So it has to be very much, it should show on a ground level what is the practicality of it to the client and to yourself, okay? So that you can grow accordingly. You see here, there is a graph for graph 2 for the daily productive person. This is yearly, weekly production. Then you have another one, weekly production, weekly 3 average percentage. So these are the things you can understand. So you see, this is the page. So from where all the formulas are taken. So this is our page. This needs to be fed in. You see the formula is here. Everything needs to be fed in. How much work is done. This box is installed for the cameras, for example. Okay, for the equipments to be installed. Okay. The same goes for the oil and gas projects. If you're setting up a daily operations team on how much work needs to be done, how much gas needs to be produced, how much oil needs to be filtered or refined. So these things all matter in the oil and gas projects as well. If you have so this will be your main derivation sheet. You put everything, okay, and from this it will go on to it will derive here everything. It's a simple template. You just have to put one main sheet for reporting, put all what the work is done daily basis. Then you put the formulation weekly, daily, and yearly. It will calculate automatically. So you just have to, or you have a person, if you are the boss of someone, you can have them understand this, and they can feed in the daily details, what the site reports are. And automatically it will calculate everything. You have plenty of software that's for that. Primavera is pretty efficient on that. Primavera P6, MS Projects is there. And these kind of templates are, are very user friendly. Even your supervisor can understand pretty quickly. Primavera is advanced software. So that is why I'm telling you, how do you, deal with the project practically? How do you monitor it? Now let's move on. Let's go on to this manpower. Your planning is done, your operations are going on, your manpower is there, and your site is, you know how to monitor a site. Now, other thing you also which you need to consider is, this is the cost template I wrote. This is the cost control, the budget. It's very important. If you are working with a team, you need to understand that the organization you're working for, the client you're working for, they will need to have a clear idea that what the money they have put in on a project, they can gain from it. It's a simple world. It's a profit looking world. So you have to understand this. So you should strategize your operations accordingly. There's no waste hours. There's no waste product. There's no dead stock. Okay. So these things matter. If you don't have, suppose, that's why I say you plan your procurement. If you have a manpower sitting, on like 15 days doing nothing, waiting for the material, you have wasted man hours. You're giving the salary for nothing. So it's good for the individual, but yes, as a company, they will look at wasted man hours. Okay. So you have to think like that as a company in which you're working for, an organization, you have to benefit that, so that if the company grows, people will grow together, right? So these are the project inputs. You can put, these are simple templates, how you derive it. If you have different kind of projects, like we used to have different kind of projects. So if you are just working with one, it's okay. You make this one name. This is your estimated start. This is your estimated finish. These are the estimated number of hours you will need to complete the project, and the duration number of those derived from this. Okay, this is just a template. Okay. You put your name, project name, your project type. This is how I'm telling how you derive in a simple way a project budget. Okay, keeping in mind your material, your requirement, your man hours, your salaries, and everything. How you derive it. Okay, so this will be the project name, project type as the project input. Put the simple details of the project. Then you go to the project parameters. What are the parameters that will affect the project? Okay, you have to be critical about this. Okay, this cannot be ignored. So this is a different kind of projects. So this is business in creation, acquisition, liabilities, and how, so you can have your stock, everything in a different project. It's construction. So what is the percentage? You can always derive it. Administrative staff, how much they're taking from a particular amount of money you have as revenues. Okay. Then these are the calculations. So you can feed in the calculations. What are you paying your staff? How is it? And how much is this costing you? How much the operations is costing? You have the operations teams. So you need to understand all this and put it in a chart. Okay. You need to calculate it. Same goes for the hours chart. You can do like this. I'm giving this much. You see, it's a simple one. Hours per skill type. How many hours is required per skill? Technicians, hands-on labor, supervisor, foreman. So how many hours are required for this particular person? So from that, you can derive key for how much time you need a team, right? If you have a 1-year project, so you will not take a testing and commissioning engineer from the beginning, because his work is nothing in the beginning, right? His work comes at the end. So we'll try to find people who are good in testing and commissioning after 6 months. Once you're done with the construction, when you're done with the structure, right? So suppose you need a design engineer, you need it from the beginning, because they will work on the shop drawings. So this is how you think. Okay, this is how the management thinks. From when will I need a particular manpower? Okay, if you need technicians, laborers, you can need it from the beginning, because they will work on site. If there are technicians and laborers, you will need a foreman to guide them. You need a supervisor. You need an engineer. Then you have, once the work is done, you go in parallel with the QC persons, the quality control people, the quality analyst people. So these all go in hand in hand. For testing, commissioning, for the people who come in the later part, you need to understand that, and then you try to derive man hours accordingly, so that it benefits your team. There are no wasted man hours. You hire the team accordingly thereafter. Okay, in a lot of projects, like in one of our projects in the automation department, in the automation project, water automation, we needed people to, understand if the work had been done properly, if our QC has done it properly. It always the consultant and the client together after our QC has passed it, but we needed more efficient people to understand, before we went on with the consultant showing it to the client. So we hired somebody from, like a freelancer, so to check on it. So these things can also be done. These things also need to be planned in operations. Everything comes under operations. Okay. Now, I hope it's clear with you. Then now we move on to, so these things are clear. You cleared your what A, B, C, D, you cleared your site management, how you do it, you cleared how you deal with the daily operations, how you try to monitor it with your reports, as I showed you templates. And then you move on with your manpower management, how you, understand your manpower in hand, materials and everything. You have planned it already. Now the look ahead, how you are moving, everything is, and now the last thing will come, you look ahead and completing the operations in a project. I'm talking on a simple level, so everyone understands. A lot of people here are already dealing with it. Okay, a lot of people who are new, they should understand how you deal with it on a regular basis. So let's go with a look ahead. Look ahead means planning upfront. Okay, planning upfront means you plan. Suppose you're working on a project, you plan 5 weeks ahead. What I'll be doing 5 weeks, because during a project's timeline, changes can occur. There can be a delay. So to cover those delays, you should have a look ahead plan, a plan B, as I suppose. So it's a look ahead plan. You show I can cover these with extra manpower, extra man hours. Here you give in your extra bucks to the people, like the overtime. So this is how you plan. So okay, this overtime money has to be in the operations budget as well beforehand, as I told you. That's also a plan B when operating the budget control. You should not be, straight to the point, this much. There will be additional miscellaneous. Always remember, direct and indirect costs. So it's miscellaneous can always be there under indirect costs. Okay, indirect costs, so to be more precise. Now we'll just move on to the look ahead. I will show you another template so you can understand it very well, more practically. So this is a 5-week look ahead from one of the projects. It's my own prepared. So it's just a format. Okay. So there are no problems to the copyright. I have to be careful about that as well. So now this is a look ahead. Okay. Same thing, it's putting your productivity and forecast. Just I changed some things, okay? The headings, same formulation, you can use it, same format, and you put the physical status and the forecast if there is a problem. See, Primavera P6 is quite efficient with this when you're planning. For planning engineers will relate. But if you are a person who is not into planning, he's into doing projects, then they can, monitor like this under project. So this you need to write again, how you will go on, your start, your finish, your look ahead for the next week. So this you will, here in the previous ones, we used to write what work has been completed. Here you will mention in the look ahead work, what amount of work you want to complete in the future. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And then the accumulative one. This is 5-week look ahead. This is the amount of work I want to cover. If you are going steadily in a project, it's the same thing you will put. If you are lacking behind, you try to show to the client, try to practically cover the lacked work, okay, in this look ahead period. So this is not only, in your mind, I will do this. This has to be on paper. This has to be on a report, so that you follow that. You derive it and then you follow that, okay. So this is how you use your mind and your capabilities and your tools expertise to run a project, run operations in a project very efficiently. Okay, believe me, this is my practical experience all these years. I have tried all these kind of things, and I have, understood that if you document everything, if you make a report of everything, that impresses your client, that impresses your productivity in an organization, and that also, if everything has to be there, you should do it on a practical level, and then you feed it into your system. Then you can monitor very well. Okay, it's a human mind. Okay, we need tools to, understand everything more proficiently. So be careful on that. This also helps you, strategize well, avoid unwanted costs. Now I will stop sharing. So let's sum up with saying I'm trying to give 15 minutes for question and answers. You may have a question and answer you can ask me. So to sum it up, these tools and these ideas will help you understand strategizing and avoiding the waste and the dead stock and unwanted costs, direct or indirect. This will help your organization. This will help you as a person, operations person, as a project operations person to understand well and to grow with the company. Okay. I hope you understood it, and I hope we learn together and hope we apply this. And if you have questions, please go on, show it. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, over to you.
All right, Baba, it was very, very informative. Thank you for such an
Well,
informative discussion on the topic operations and project management. I'm sure participants would have gained a lot. There are few questions which have been asked by the students, Faroz. So I'll just go one by one on the questions. All right.
yeah, please, please.
Okay. So first question is from Dipanshu. He says, as an architect of 24 years, what should I do to enter in the project management field?
Okay. So, sorry, Dipanshu, right? The name?
Yeah, yeah,
Dipanshu, thank you so much for the question. So you're already 24 years into a particular field. That's a plus point to start with, man. Okay, you are more experienced in your field than I am. So I hope I can help you with this. But if you try project management, suppose you are in architecture, you should understand. I think you already know what is the full scope in architecture in the projects. So if you want to go into the field of project management, you have to understand how you relate with the clients, how you get a project, how you bid for a project under architecture. You just don't do it. How you bid for a project. You should know what is the budget of operations, what is the budget of the project. You should know the time frame. Okay, you should know how to do the manpower and site management, how to do the design management, implementations from bidding to planning to implementation to the closure. So if you cover all this, if you understand this with your expertise in architecture, you can go into the field of project management. I hope it helps.
right. So next is by Videhi Raipar, and they
Okay.
say, after design, project management plays a vital role in achieving sustainable construction. What common challenges do you face during management of green projects and their impact on its performances?
Green projects, if
Yes.
I correctly. Okay. Thank you, Vadi, for the question. It's quite an insightful one, and
Yeah.
I suppose you're already dealing with this kind of project if you ask this kind of question. So if the sustainability, it's like a culture, a people, if you relate with it, just water sustainability, environment sustainability. So if you keep these in mind under a project, you have to look out for what are your stakeholders. Okay, your stakeholders are the local stakeholders like your organization, you yourself, your colleagues, and the external stakeholders, your client. External in a sustainability project, your external stakeholders will be the activists, okay, and the government, the semi-government, the local government. So you have to understand all these stakeholders will have different ideas. You may be having a good idea, a good cause in your mind that I want to deal with a project, okay, like a greenhouse project, and I want to think on the sustainability of the environment. But maybe some people differ, their ideas differ, the stakeholders' ideas differ. So how you understand this, you try to talk it out to this, you have a good plan, okay, you have a good moral cause, you can pitch into the stakeholders, the government, the finances, the sponsors. So this needs to be very much, precise, and always remember the finances, the government, any kind of stakeholders, everyone looks for profit in a project. If with the profit you are giving sustainability in any kind of project, greenhouse, and you're showing it more as a moral conduct, so that's a plus. But you have to understand these problems will come, and people will try to think more on the profit part. Okay, so I hope you understand that. Thank you. Yeah,
Right.
good.
So another is by Amir Hassan. What is your process for overcoming bottlenecks in your projects?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, bottlenecks are there in every project. Bottlenecks can be a particular, inefficient staff can be bottleneck. Inefficient logistics can be bottleneck. Anything which stops the project from progressing, it's a bottleneck. So we face these kind of problems: efficient staff, efficient, management, inefficient rather, inefficient staff. This becomes a bottleneck. The progress is not going on. Inefficient technician, inefficient the team which is on site, the team which is finance team, or it is not with the HR team. They're not hiring the right people. So everything becomes a bottleneck. The material problem, the procurement problem, the supplier is not good. The supplier becomes the bottleneck of your project. You try to change the supplier. How do you deal with this? You try to talk it out of the supplier, or you try to change the supplier. You need to clear out the bottlenecks. Okay. So anything which stops a project from progressing is a bottleneck. So you have to be ready with the plan B always, so that there are no bottlenecks. Obviously, Amir, there will be bottlenecks, obviously, even if you have a plan B, but still you try to emphasize on a plan B and be ready with it. So that, and even if you have a bottleneck, you need to understand, first derive what the bottleneck is. You need to have that understanding. What is the bottleneck which is creating the problem in your progress? Then you try to remove the bottleneck. You try to make it understandable who were the people who are involved with this, that we need to remove this, we need to get over this, so that we grow. Okay, thank you. Next.
Right. Another is from Rafia Ahmed. She says, how often do you see a mismatch between the budget provided to you for the project and the expenditure? How to optimize the quality of the work and expenditure?
Okay, that's a very thorough question, and let's talk about this. Obviously, as I talked in my webinar, if you will get a budget of to run a project, if you get an operations budget, you get a finance, everything, there's a budget for each and every department. So suppose if I talk about operation budget, obviously you being a project manager, operations manager, you will feel the project budget is less. This is human thing, okay? And they'll in my experience, obviously it has over the miscellaneous charges overpassed the budget which was in hand. To do it inside the budget, it gets pretty difficult when a project is very, not that easy and smooth in a way. And you have procurement, you have design, you have construction in line. Like when I went through, when you have manpower going from recruiting from overseas. So these things matter a lot in the budget. Okay, if you need to have a good team, you need to pay good salaries, and you see a salary budget is less, then you talk out with your management. So these things do occur. And when you talk it out with your management, when you derive your operation budget, you should think on this, how to, understand this. That's why I say, when you're driving your cost, you should understand, I will avoid the unwanted costs and the waste per man hour, so that I can utilize this cost, this miscellaneous budget into something more substantial. Okay, taking good products, making a good team. Because people with experience will charge higher salaries, and you want that in your team. So you want to avoid those kind of budgets which are unwanted. So this is how you plan it, and obviously you will face it. So you need to keep these things in mind.
Right. Fine. Nimisha is asking, looking out at the tough times prevailing in the industry, what is the future of students pursuing operations management and wish to build up a career in project management?
Okay, for students, first of all, you need to understand if this field is for you, project and operations. Okay, it's not an easy field. It's like covering everything, if you're on a project. So you need to understand if this is your field, you are passionate about it, you want to start from point A till point Z. You now start from project initiation till the project end. Okay, if your expertise lies, and if your just passion lies, in for something which is required in a project, like the testing part, like the designing part, you're a good designer, then your passion just lies on that, not on handling a team or handling operations, or initiating a project. You just want to do that passionately, the designing, I want to design, that's it. So just have that, you cannot become project manager, you cannot go in operations. You have to be a cross-functional asset, the one who covers everything. It's pretty important. So how you become a cross-functional asset, you first understand it yourself, be true to yourself. We are thinking about this. And then you have to put in the hard work. You have to get experience. You have to understand the ground level of it. Okay. How do you bid for a project? How do you understand a project? How you understand manpower management, site management, designing, which your expertise is, you give in more on that. Then you know how to close a project. So for a student, first understand it, then try to work it from the beginning level, not only just your active, your expertise. You start it from project in bidding to initiation, to the monitoring, the operations, and then till the closure. Then if you understand this very well, for a particular project, then only you can move in and become a project manager or come into the field of operations management. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Hope it helps.
Yeah. Imran Hussain is asking, what is the eligibility for project engineer? How can this boost for career growth? Will it also help in construction?
Okay, so if project engineers are, what is your field? If you're civil, mechanical, or you're electrical, it depends what your field is. And if you're into IT, so project engineer can be IT project engineer, can be a project construction engineer, can be a electrical project engineer, it can be anything. If you take it as a whole, so if you want to become as a overall project engineer, it will take some time with your experience. If you have worked different kind of projects, mechanical, electrical, construction to be precise, and you worked on IT project, if you want to be an overall project engineer, you should have done all these kind of projects. If you want to be a particular project engineer, there is obviously scope as well. So you need to understand what is the scope for it. What is the criteria is, if you want to be a project engineer, you should have done a project. You should be involved in a project as an engineer. If you want to become a project engineer in a particular, like you in your, say it's construction. So for construction, you should be involved in a construction project, like in an intern as a student, okay, on the ground level, to become a project engineer in a particular field, because you're handling the project with the project manager as a project engineer. So you need to work on a project, and then you need to understand the ifs and buts, the operations under it, what are the projects, how you handle the project, how you move on with the implementation of the project. And if you have done courses, if you clear the PMP exam, that's a benefit, big bonus right now. We will talk about the PMP exam later. What are the accreditations which can help you? But main thing is being involved in a project. If you're involved in a project, if you have finished it, or you're being involved in a good amount, so that will help obviously to boost up your career as a project engineer in construction.
Right. So next question is from Mr. Didair Baradasa. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So
I will call him DB.
Yeah, we call it DB.
Yeah.
So what's an acceptable or reasonable percentage of monthly advantage per project given you have to use the plan B? Some technical.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good question. I think he's paying much attention to what I'm speaking. That's a good thing. Now, if I talk about this accepted, it depends on your client. Okay, it depends on your client and your project timeline. If you have a shorter time frame, and if it is less than 60%, if it is 6 months, and you have a shorter time frame to complete the project, and the first and second months you are doing like 60% productivity, then that's a less. If you have a larger time frame, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, bigger projects. So this even less, sometimes even less than 50% is acceptable, because you can, to be very practical, you can cover those things. But if you have a small time frame, okay, a small baseline of a project, it's not acceptable. It has to be very, very short and sweet on this. Okay, so you need to plan accordingly, and plan B always helps. So you always try to aim for plus 90% productivity and plus achieve the efficiency if you have a shorter project, even if you have a longer one. But it's not practical. People get around 70% as per my experience. We have been going on with this. But we have a plan B to shift our productivity to a higher level, and plus we have some time frame to cover the lagged ones. Okay, so that's how you proceed.
Right. So next question we have from Richa Kedia. It's again about Plan B, and she's saying, could you please illustrate few examples of Plan B that you would have taken up in the past?
Okay, that's a good thing from my own example. So thank you, Richa, for the question. And let's talk about Plan B, one of my examples. So I will give you a very Prominent example, one basic thing, sorry, we had a problem with the procurement. Yeah, our shipment got stuck in customs. It's a very, painful thing. You will deal with this when you deal with the higher and bigger projects. Our material shipment got stuck in the customs in Abu Dhabi, and we needed to, complete. We had a shutdown time from ministry, and it was a water project, and they shut down the water level, dropped down the water level, and shut down the water supply for a particular area totally. Okay, for for 2 hours, if I remember correctly, for 2 to 3 hours, and upon a particular day, and we had to complete that project on that day itself. Otherwise, the next day it would have, overlapped a lot of many activities which were the successor activities, okay, in our timeline. So how do we do it? So we had we as a team had a plan B, that we will always have a local supplier ready, okay, inside the kingdom. And obviously it is not the same product, otherwise I would have never asked from overseas. It was a bit down in efficiency, but our plan is, if we don't get it, what do? We had to, not because that maintenance had to be done. The valve had to be, there was a big butterfly valve, it had to be changed. So we had a plan B ready. Okay, we had advance payment to that plan person already. If you needed, just give it, otherwise they will return the money. So it was an agreement. When you are in the network, you have an agreement. Then unfortunately our shipment got stuck. So we got it from the local supplier, we fixed it, we had a run, okay, we showed it in our productivity, okay, and then we did not leave it on that. Remember, your work has to be efficient as well. This is the to cover this time. The water level was again fine, we had a good relation with ministry. If we didn't do it at that time, then we would have not got we would have not got the permits to do it again that quickly. So once we did this temporary thing, when the shipment arrived back, we took an agreement, a permit again, and we tried to derive some time from our time frame and put this work again. Okay, and then we put the original stuff, and it worked out again pretty well. So this is a plan B. As it can be anything, but you need to be pretty aware of it, pretty smart with it. Okay, so that relations with all the stakeholders is very important. For us here, the stakeholders were the ministry, the major one. Thank you. Hope it helps.
Yeah, I hope the question was very well explained. So we'll come up with the last question we have from Mr. Nusrat Ahmed.
Okay.
He's saying, what to do if after putting the best efforts you find that the project is nearly a failure?
Okay. Thank you for the question. That's a pretty thoughtful one, and it's from an experienced campaigner, I suppose. So the thing is, you're doing a project, you're working on a project, but yes, obviously you are one person. If you don't have a good team, if you don't have a good management understanding, if you don't have stakeholders who understand your points, and everyone is not putting in their efforts, the project does lead to a failure. Fortunately, I have never been a part of those kind of projects yet, but I understand when we were nearly, failings in some things, and I can share those examples with you. When you feel is nearing a failure, it's also an experience, right? It's the bottom line. You are giving your best efforts. You have planned it very well, and you have understood the project very well, and then you have initiated it, and then you are running the operations. You have a plan B as well. It's also failing. Then this is your experience. This is how you grow. Okay, you try to give, you should not, never say die attitude, to be very frank. You never, leave a project like that. Okay, you never give up. You try to understand, if you are into giving your experience, giving your efforts, and if it still fails, it's okay. It's up to fate. It's up, because it depends on other people as well. What your part is, you should be very efficient on it. You should think, because the project, it depends on from all sides. You are the person as a project manager, you as a person as an operations manager, you are trying to communicate with everybody, trying to put in together. Okay, you do it efficiently. If it's still going on to a failure, you try to learn from it and learn that how you should avoid these kind of mistakes in the future. May the failure can be a smaller part, can be on a bigger scale, but the major thing is experience. So our failures were on some of the activities. I learned from that. Even if I had a plan B, I was not able to succeed in that kind of activity. Okay, suppose there was a problem with excavation, if I remember correctly, a problem with excavation, there was a pipeline, big pipeline, and the surveying was not done well. The surveying was not done well. Okay, because before excavation for anything we survey if there is anything beneath that. So there was a problem there, and we didn't know how to go down beneath that. Now we had to fix something. So we cannot even excavate, to the nearby spot. So that was where I was stuck. So that day I learned that how I am depending on the surveyor for this project. So how I need to understand at the ground level as well, how I need to, before doing an excavation, how I need to, very firm with the decision of the surveyor. So these things I learned. Okay, that was a failure, a timeline failure at that time, but I learned from it. So yes, it depends on how you plan it and you keep learning. Thank you. I'm Guneet. I think your mic is mute. Okay, unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, it happened.
So, all right. Yeah. So I think now we are at the end of the session. So thank you, Mr. Malik, for such an informative discussion on the subject operations and project management. I'm sure all the participants would have gained a lot of the knowledge about the topic and project management as a field. As discussed by you, it is very important to keep a track of the project and its operation in order to compete and complete it on time and in given budget. So with this, I would like to thank all the participants for attending this session, and thanks to the ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter for supporting us. I would request all the participants, attendees to kindly subscribe to our channel for the latest updates and the existing seminars which we have been taking. And this is the second episode of the projects and operation management series. So if you have missed the first one, so you can also go to the first episode and watch it. So with this, I would like to thank everybody. Thank you,
Yes.
Barbara. Thank you all
Thank you
the
so much, Guneet. I would
participants.
like to just to sign off with the saying thank you everyone for chipping in on this seminar, and thank you Guneet for organizing it quite well and the second time around, and we have been very communicative. And especially Guneet, thank you so much, and obviously the ASHRAE Chandigarh chapter, they have been great collaborators. And I have tried my best. I hope I helped a lot of people. And we say, let's grow together. We have always, try to share knowledge and grow together. I'm also still learning, and I think with my 10 years of experience, if I can, shower some knowledge onto you guys who are starting, it would be a great deed, and I hope it helps everyone. Looking forward to another set of questions. Anything you have on the YouTube channel of, please subscribe. Archivites, Archistudent's YouTube channel. They're quite informative people. And all the best to you guys for your future and your career. Stay safe and happy Independence Day again.
Happy
Thank you.
Independence Day. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.